Well, hello, this is Jeff Gaudiosi, and you're on misplacedstraws.com where music comes to life. Got something a little bit different for you today. There's no guest. I'm here to talk about the 2022 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony, which was held at the Microsoft Theater in Los Angeles on November 5th. And for those of you who have seen my interviews or paid attention to this site, you know that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is something that's kind of near and dear to my heart. We talk about the good and the bad with it a lot in my interviews. This was the 10th induction I've been to going back to 2012. And of course, there was no induction in 2020 due to COVID, or no public induction, I should say. And this is the second time they've had it out at the Microsoft Theater in Los Angeles. Great venue, really cool place to have it. That being said, it belongs in Cleveland. When you do it in LA, and same thing when you do it in New York, there just is no buzz around it. When you do it in Cleveland, the entire city is into it. Everywhere you go, it's all about the Rock Hall. So that will always be my favorite place to go. The induction itself, if you're looking for the traditional rundown recap that I do every year, it's right there on misplacedstraws.com. You'll have the text, some photos. I didn't do a photo pass for this, so it's kind of cell phone pictures, but it gives you a feel for the night. But that traditional rundown is there. This is just to kind of give a little color to the whole thing. It was a really good night. I have to say, all the performances were great. Most of the speeches were good. There were a few issues. We'll talk about those first, kind of get them out of the way. Most of you guys have probably seen the issues with Duran Duran. When they started playing their first song, Girls on Film, there was no sound coming from the band. It was just kind of the stage monitors. But Simon's vocals were at full sound, so you were hearing him, but not the band. It took them to about the first chorus to realize something was going on. They stopped, they fixed it, they came back and just put on an amazing show. They really are a great live band. But again, they've waited so long to get in that it just kind of sucks that they were hit with an issue that had nothing to do with them. Um, One of the other production issues, when The Edge was giving his speech inducting Eurythmics, one of the giant video screens on the side went out for a bit. Again, doesn't really affect it the way that the sound with Duran Duran did, but depending on where you were sitting, if you were looking at that screen, it was off for a little bit. Some of the other issues we've seen crop up over the past few induction ceremonies, really since HBO took over, and it's become more about the TV version of it than the actual live event. In the past, when an inductee was giving their speech, behind them on the giant video screen in the center, you would see photos from throughout their career. Now, instead of putting them on those big screens where everyone can see, it's on this little small screen just behind where they're standing. If you're watching on TV, it's perfect. It's right there. If you're in person, you could barely see it. So that's something that don't see a reason why they can't do the big screen and the small. The other part, which is done for TV, is the entire stage is backlit, meaning all the lighting is behind the performer. What that does is the stage is dark. You cannot see the band while they're playing unless there's a spotlight on them. So, for instance, when Dave Grohl was playing guitar with Lionel Richie, you had no idea it was Dave Grohl until the spotlight hit him because you can't see the band. And that's just something that I've heard a few people complaining about as we were walking out, that the stage is just dark. It's hard to see. But other than those issues, it really was a great night. Again, Duran Duran kicked it off. We didn't get the promised reunion. Simon read a note from Andy Taylor that unfortunately he's been diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer and couldn't make it. We send our best to Andy. He's a fantastic guitar player. I did an interview with Ricky Warwick of Black Star Riders, who was working with him, sang Andy's praises as a great guy. So hopefully Andy can battle through this. There was nothing said of why Warren Cucurilla wasn't there. Definitely missed having him. Robert Downey inducted the band, and I've seen a lot of induction speeches in the 10 years we've been going to this. Some are really good, some not so much. I was highly disappointed in Robert Downey's speech. Didn't really say anything. There was no substance to it. Obviously, he was a fan because A, he was there, and he also talked about the band playing a small set for his 50th birthday, but there was nothing personal to it. There was no substance behind what he was saying. So I just felt the band deserved something a little bit better. Um, in addition to performers, they have a lot of other side awards as well. The biggest one being the award for musical excellence. And there were two of those given out this night. The first one went to producers Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. No surprise at all, Janet Jackson inducted them. She's the perfect person for it. She gave a great speech of their history together. And the two guys were also really good. Terry went on a little long, but you could tell it meant something to him. And if you ever listen to Jimmy Jam's show on Sirius XM, you know he's a brilliant guy. He's well spoken. He gave a great speech, really pushing music education in schools, which I thought was a great thing. Following them, Cheryl Crow came up to induct Pat Benatar and Neil Giraldo. And again, if you were paying attention as all this was going on, you know that getting Neil in there was big. It was originally just Pat, but she really fought to have her husband, her guitar player, her co writer, her musical collaborator from the very beginning there with her. And the hall wisely allowed him in. Cheryl gave a great speech. You could tell that she was really influenced by Pat, and it meant something to her to be presenting them in. Of course, they killed it live. They are just still so good on stage. Uh, for the third song, Heartbreaker, they brought in some of the guys from their original band, including legendary drummer Myron Grombacher, who it was just so great to see them together. Um, One of the other special awards that they give out is the Ahmet Ertegun Award. This one went to Jimmy Iovine, who has done literally everything in this business, from producer to engineer to running a record company to creating beats with Dr. Dre. Um, and it was amazing, as always, to see Bruce Springsteen come out to induct Jimmy. Jimmy Iovine began really as the engineer on Born to Run and Darkness on the Edge of Town. And Bruce told the story of how Jimmy came and asked him if, you know, you're not going to use that Because the Night song. Can I give it to Patti Smith? And, you know, Bruce even said himself how amazed he was with what Patti and Jimmy did with that song. So that was really cool. Another side award they give, the early influence, that went to guitarist Elizabeth Cotton. And for that award, they just showed a video clip of her history. A lot of interviews with Gary Clark Jr. during that clip, talking about her unique style and how he was influenced by her. After that video is the moment, at least I've been waiting for. Finally, Judas Priest inducted into the hall. They went in under the Musical Excellence Award, not as a performer, but they're in. That's really all that matters. The legendary Alice Cooper came out and gave a great speech inducting the band and just pointing out that they have influenced every metal band that came after them. Of course, they took the stage, and there is nothing better than a live Priest show. Well, no, should say the one thing better is a live Priest show that's a huge reunion. Estranged guitarist KK Downing was there. He and his replacement, Richie Faulkner, were side by side at the front of the stage the whole time. That was great to see. Glenn Tipton, original guitar player suffering from Parkinson's, was there playing on stage. Two drummers, longtime drummer Scott Travis and original drummer Les Binks were both there. They were fantastic. The only things that went by so quick. Would have loved to, Priest to be able to get a little more time in there. Um, their thank you speeches were really good, especially Rob Halford, who led his off by saying, "Yeah, I'm the gay guy in the band." And he really showed that the metal community is accepting, it's diverse, it's inclusive, and just they were amazing as always. Another Ahmet Ertegun Award video package came up for Sylvia Robinson, and showed her just unique position of helping create what is now hip hop, Sugar Hill Records and all of that. Um, Surprised I didn't have anyone play for her, to be honest with you, because she had such an influence and really beginning a genre and getting it out there to the masses. I'm really kind of surprised I didn't have anyone play for her. But after her video package, they moved on, and Sarah Bareilles came out to induct Carly Simon. And I've never had a chance to see Sarah Bareilles live, but we've seen her at a couple of these induction ceremonies, and she's a pro. She gives a great induction speech. She really gets to the heart of the person she's inducting, and she puts on an incredible performance. Carly couldn't be there. For one thing, that she has well documented stage fright, but she also lost both of her sisters in the same week, just a week or two before the induction. So she couldn't make it, but she did send a note about how much it meant to her. Sarah gave a great version of Nobody Does It Better. And then after that, Olivia Rodrigo, I believe she won Best New Artist at the Grammys last year, came out for You're So Vain. Originally, Alanis Morissette was supposed to sing it with her. What we found out later is that Alanis was there at rehearsals on Friday and basically walked out. She says that she felt an anti woman sentiment coming from the production. Who knows? We weren't there, can't say, but she didn't perform, which left Olivia Rodrigo to tackle this monster song on her own. And she did a fantastic job. A lot of times when you see a young performer take on such a big song and such a big stage, they kind of get swallowed up by the moment. She didn't. She did a great job. Was really happy to see what she did. Um, the next Ahmet Ertegun Award went to Alan Grubman. Not a household name, but should be. He's an attorney who has represented literally everybody in the music business, but he's also a co-founder of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So that should have gotten him in long ago. John Mellencamp, who's been a friend and client of Grubman for a long time, inducted him. Mellencamp went on a little bit long, do have to say. Love the man, but his speech went on a little long. Grubman came just in tears from Mellencamp's speech. Oh, and I should say too, Mellencamp stood up, and whether it was a shot at Kanye West or anyone that's buying into what Kanye West has been trying to talk about lately, pointed out just there's no place for anti-Semitism in this business or any place. His big takeaway from the night is silence is complicity. If he's not up there denouncing that type of talk and that rhetoric, then you're allowing it to happen. So he really went up there, put himself out there, and stood up against it. Grubman comes up, great guy. He knows that he's not a household name. So what he did during his speech was tell the story of how the Hall of Fame was formed, and it was fantastic. That was really good to hear. That was followed again by an early influence video with Harry Belafonte. And then for the ride home with this, The Edge comes out to induct Eurythmics. And, usually Bono's the face of the band, but Edge was really good. He gave a good speech. It wasn't very personal, but he talked a lot about, the influence that this band has had. Then they started to play, and you just forget what a strong, great band they are. Annie's voice, Dave's guitar, they were fantastic. Um, but when it came to the speeches, Dave heaped praise on Annie, well deserved. And when she stepped to the mic, the crowd lost it. It was the biggest standing ovation of the night was for her, and you saw how much it meant to her when she was speaking. So that was great to see. Um, the In Memoriam followed. No band playing this time. They go back and forth with that through the years. Sometimes there's a band, sometimes there isn't. It was just kind of music through, some of the people we've lost, including the late great Taylor Hawkins. Dr. Dre came up next for Eminem, and again, speeches are the best when there's that personal connection. When the person inducting them is just as happy as the person being inducted, it makes for a great speech. And Dre gave a fantastic one. Eminem took the stage, and the special guest followed. Steven Tyler from Aerosmith came out, and he did a verse of Dream On as M went in to sing for the moment. Ed Sheeran came out handling Dido's part on Stan with his guitar, sounded fantastic, really brought the house down. It was really great. And then finally, Dolly Parton. Um, she said how, at first she didn't think she belongs there. She thought this was just a place for rockers, which I think we all did at one point, but it's clear that that's not the case anymore. All types of genres have been let into the hall. And I guess my take on it is if you're going to bring in genres outside of rock, bring in the best that that genre has to offer. And when you look at hip hop, not my thing, but I think the bands that are in are the best that that genre offers. So you can't really argue with who's gone in. And again, if you're going to expand it a little more into country music, who better than Dolly Parton to be in? Um, Pink gave the induction speech. And, at first, Dolly walked off stage and kind of let others play for her. Pink was there, Brandy was there, the Zach Brown band was there, Sheryl Crow was there. They all sang, no Miley Cyrus. Miley was listed as being a guest for the night. Her and Dolly have a long, long relationship together. So, kind of surprised that she wasn't there. Haven't heard what the deal behind that was yet. Um, After Dolly finished with her brand new rock and roll song called Rockin', uh, the jam started. And again, over the years, there have been some great jams. There have been years where they just put the lights on and skip the jam altogether. For this one, Dolly brought everybody out for Jolene. The Eurythmics were there. Simon Le Bon was there. All of the female singers, Pink, Brandy, Sheryl Crow, Pat Benatar, Annie Lennox. But the best, have you ever seen anything better than Rob Halford in full leather singing Jolene into the same mic as Dolly Parton? It's like, that's why you go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction every year. When that ended, we assumed it was the end, but they made an announcement, please stay for one more song. And Bruce Springsteen came out with John Mellencamp, Roy Bittan of the East Street Band, and the Zach Brown Band. And as Bruce said, got to play one for the killer. We've recently lost Jerry Lee Lewis. Jerry was the last living member of the first Hall of Fame class. So Springsteen, Mellencamp, Bittan, and Zach Brown did High School Confidential into Great Balls of Fire. And, Roy on piano, just, he did the killer proud. So that was the night. It was a great night. One of the better ones. There have been some where you're always like, oh, that performance was terrible, or that went on way too long. And really here, you can't complain about any of the performers or induction at all. It was a really strong night. And who knows where we'll be next year, whether we're back in New York or back in Cleveland, that remains to be seen. Remains to be seen who's there. Hopefully, now that Judas Priest is in, we'll start seeing Iron Maiden. We'll start seeing some more metal bands coming in. But overall, it's a great night. It'll be on HBO on November 19th. Definitely check it out. And thank you guys very much. I appreciate all the support. Make sure you go to the site, misplayedstraws.com. You could get the full text rundown and pictures. Thank you very much.